Super Rugby Saturday games. There were 3 games on, and all the favourites ended up getting the wins in this one. We'll go through some key events, some stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. First one, the Blues keep the Highlanders winless down in Dunedin. It was a decent weak crowd for this one. I think the New Zealand crowds are probably, because now that we're allowed to have crowds back at stadiums, are still maybe a little bit cautious because there's a lot of COVID in the community in New Zealand. But it was good to see the zoo full of students down one of the ends, so that was better than the recent weeks when we've only had kind of a couple of hundred fans in the stadiums. It started pretty well for the Blues, eh? They got a penalty and a try. Caleb Clark, man, he's looking a proper unit, isn't he? It's a pity he tried to go for the sevens dream during the Olympics, eh? I can understand it because a gold medal is pretty appealing, but yeah, hopefully he's back in the swing of things now for the old 15s. Bodie Barrett got a wee try as well down the blind side. I wouldn't call it a scrum move because it was loose ball that he ended up just backing himself on to go blindside when he was past it. So Tutsu got one and Perofeta got one that looked to have secured it, but I swear the Blues have got this habit of conceding late points to bring the game within one score at the death. It's cost them once. The other games they've managed to kind of get out of jail. Gilbert gets 2 and a pretty good effort for the Landers, and Dan Leonard-Brown got 1 as well. So Gilbert's one in the 70th minute is the one that brought it back within 7 points. But thankfully the Blues were able to hold on. Thankfully the DeWai try was chalked off because he looked to have picked Sullivan's pocket in the air, but it was ruled that he'd knocked it on in the build-up to that play. So yeah, it was a interesting game. Like the Blues, I think, probably should have punished them a wee bit more at halftime. There was 18-6 halftime, which was, I don't know, the Blues had 67% territory, and the Highlanders were tackling really badly, like 75%. The Blues were at 93. So yeah, the Blues, I don't know, they are still not the finished article, eh? If they come up against the Crusaders, I think they may get a bit of a shock to the system, but we'll see. That's my team. So yeah, Highlanders are still winless. Good on Mitch Hunt for kicking that clutch conversion to keep it within 7 on that 70th minute try, but it just wasn't enough. And I guess credit to the Blues maul defense for holding on at the end because they had to put in some good defense. Caleb Clark with a wee not try-saving tackle, but a good tackle to finish the game off. So yeah, there you go, 32-25. Happy days for the Blues. Stats, run meters, 404 to 402, so pretty close. Possession and territory actually edge it to the Highlanders by the end of it, but clean breaks is 9-4 to the Blues. And the Blues make more tackles, but at a higher rate as well. 89% they finish with, which is really class. 89% tackle completion is good, whereas the Landers are at 76, which is they're not going to win many games with that kind of D. Talea, he's a hard man to bring down. 6 defenders beaten. Gregory makes 9 from 9 tackles in that Highlanders midfield. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom for the Landers, but it is still another loss. And guess what? They're away to the Crusaders next, as if they didn't need it. The Blues are on a Tuesday game away to Moana Pacifica, so that's going to be an interesting one because both teams on a really short turnaround, and the Blues may have had the intention of just chucking in a B-side, but having seen what they've done to the Hurricanes the day before, you'd be foolish to do that. So we will see. The next game, the Chiefs and the Crusaders. Bit of revenge for the Crusaders in this one. Remember, the Chiefs beat them down in Christchurch a couple of weeks ago. The Chiefs went into this one almost as favourites, but they were behind on the bookies tipping, and sure enough, it proved the Crusaders were the better side in this one. 34-19. The Crusaders deserved the win pretty clearly. They started the game with a try fairly quickly through Cullen Grace, although Nankivell, who had a pretty outstanding game for the Chiefs, hit back. He ends up getting 2. Ratima gets 1 at the end to maybe sow the seed of doubt that the Chiefs can come back. But in the meantime, there's tries through Will Jordan. He was exceptional. Sevu Reese got 1. He was pretty sick dummy. I think it was on Trask. But Trask was he was in a difficult position trying to defend that at Crusaders attacking play. Fine Gonuku in the midfield got 1 and Cody Taylor got 1. The Taylor one absolutely killed the game off. I think it was still a 2-score game at that point, but the Taylor one really secured it. So yeah, that's a pretty good away win. Same with the crowd there in Hamilton. I think they said it was between 8 and 10,000, which is low for a game of this magnitude, but as I said, there's a lot of people with COVID, and a lot of people not wanting to expose themselves to big groups of people, so I would imagine that's part of it. Also, man, ticket prices are still bloody high. With people out of work, it's one where, I don't know, ticket prices. I don't know what the ticket prices were like for that game, but I just looked at the prices for Moana Pacifica's game yesterday, and I was like, man, if you want to sit anywhere near halfway, you're looking at least $60 for an adult. Imagine taking 2 adults and 2 kids, bloody hell. It's a fair chunk of change, but yeah, like I said, Nankivell was good. Reese was sharp when he came on from the bench. HIGvBLU was pretty bloody sweet. Will Jordan just still absolutely world class. The All Blacks are going to rely on him with a bit of attacking finesse, I guess. So yeah, and there was a maul try at the death through Taylor. So the Crusaders have got it all, man. Run meters 541 to 412. Pretty high actually, and the Crusaders dominant. Crusaders more possession, more territory. The Chiefs conceded way too much ball at the breakdown. They lost 8 rucks. The Crusaders just 2, so way better at securing their own ball. Kane has 15 from 15 tackles for the Chiefs, which is not a bad shift, but Christie had like 20 tackles. That guy's an absolute machine for the Crusaders. Will Jordan, 143 run meters and 3 defenders beaten. That is bonkers. So that's more than some teams getting a half a rugby, to be fair. So, yeah, there you go. The Crusaders are home to the Highlanders. Their record's 4-1 now. The Chiefs are 3-2 away to the Hurricanes. And that will be an interesting game because both teams coming off a loss. The last game over from Australia, the Reds and the Tars. Reds just too good, man. The Tars had a golden opportunity to put themselves in front in this game when it was 15 against 13. But do you think they could get it done? No. And to be fair, it was pretty wet. So the handling was actually pretty decent given that it had been bucketing down right before kickoff, and it still seemed to be kind of misty rain as the game started. But I mean, the hands for the first try through Grant were pretty good for the Tars, and there was a bit of handbags after that, but they only ended up getting 2 tries the whole game. Horton gets one at the death to steal the bonus point away from the Reds. But it's that mid-period where they just only get a couple of penalties that I think is concerning for the Tars. The Reds get one through McDermott with a nice wee snipe. Good to see him back. Although he gets yellow carded. Xander, the prop, gets red carded for a high tackle. That's when it's 15 against 13. And the Tars just can't exploit the wide ball. They're able to get the ball wide into the space, but they just can't finish. It's bizarre. I wrote a note in all capital letters. How are the Tars not exploiting this space? Like, yeah, it was kind of brutal. Like, Nawani Tawase was getting into space, but he went for the corner at one point instead of looking for the support. It was just, I don't know, a bit flustered, kind of. Yeah, a wee bit frustrating if you're a Tars fan, I am sure. Yeah, Tate McDermott got the one for a deliberate knock on. The second half, though, once the Reds get back to 15 on 15, they properly put the Tars down, man. Tupou gets one from close range. McCrike gets a bizarre one where he's got the ball at the back of the ruck right in front of the goal line and just spots a spot where nobody's defended, almost like he was confused as to why it was there. And he dived down, and then Campbell got an intercept one. So they were looking at a bonus point win, but given the fact that it was 15 on 13 for as long as it was, I think the Reds will still be pretty chuffed with the win. They just too good, man. Knock-ons 9-2. Tars with 9. Like, you can't be doing that. Reds more position. Reds more territory. Nawani Tawase has 84 run meters, a clean break, and 3 defenders beaten. McDermott has 4 defenders beaten. Like, he's just a live wire. There's something about him whenever he plays. They just look a bit sharper, eh? So yeah, it's a wee bit, I don't want to say it's concerning for the Tars, but frustrating. They couldn't do more with that period where they should have been able to put on some points. But I mean, I've seen it happen before, and you'll see it happen again. But this time it was just the Tars' turn. So yeah, good win for the Reds. They are 5-1, and they get a chance to get revenge over the Brumbies. So it's kind of like this game, but in the Aussie Conference, because we saw the Crusaders go in and get revenge. It's going to be the Reds' turn at home because they couldn't beat the Brumbies in Canberra. They'll get a chance at home, and the Waratahs are away to the Drua. That could also be a pretty good game as well. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games. How do you reckon the Blues are stacking up? Do you reckon the Reds will get it done over the Brumbies next week? And the Crusaders, are they just too good? Were we maybe overrating the Chiefs a wee bit based on their big win over Moana Pacifica and their away win at the Crusaders? Because they were the second best team yesterday. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.